Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 291. Bad business. We've got Jeff Jackson, local AZ C10 clubber, as good as they get. Some wrong moves, some bad decisions. Ended up working with the shop. We can't say, but you can listen. Bad business. Here we go. Episode 291 coming at you.
And yes, I could have some recourse to go back after him. I'm not that kind of a guy. I mean, it would just cost me more money to go back after, maybe to recapture half of the money I put in there. I'd rather move on and finish up Little Blue. Okay. I've got a couple other trucks. I want to finish them up. You know, I'll get over that experience. It is my fault for being that generous and giving that guy that kind of money. I did tell him that he should stick to painting. I tried to be as nicely insult him as I could without him hitting me or anything like that, you know.
Damn, son. Hey, guys, let me tell you about LMC Truck. Keeping generations on the road. Think about that. It's pretty deep. So whether your truck was handed down or something you went out and bought, odds are you were handed a bunch of paperwork, maybe a folder. In that folder was probably the catalog. You know the one, the most up-to-date and detailed catalog available today. It's like an encyclopedia for our trucks. Their website is just as detailed and informative. lmctruck.com. lmctruck.com. So whether you're restoring old memories or creating new ones, LMC Truck is here to help. They're more than just a parts company. They truly understand the lifestyle and passion of owning a classic truck. So get out there and get to work on your truck and know that LMC is here to help. You can get online, lmctruck.com, and order your free catalog today. Keeping generations on the road. lmctruck.com.
Let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing right here. All right, we've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
Let's go, let's go. What's up, what's up? C10 Nation, episode 291. Before I jump into my notes, I'm going to go backwards on this a little bit. I just put together the list of shows, and boy, oh boy, is there a lot happening. It's a good problem to have. It's a great problem to have. So I'm going to just hit it hard here. So July 26th and 27th out in California, San Luis Obispo, you got the C10 Slowdown. Okay, moving our way out west, Midwest, Richmond, Indiana, August 2nd and 3rd. You've got the Midwest Truck Nationals. Then back over here in the Pacific Northwest, August 10th. You've got C10s on the Capitol. Todd and Jen Manchester do that. Olympia, Washington, August 10th. Same weekend, August 10th, Hoosier GM Truck Rally. That is in Indiana somewhere, and I didn't write it down. Check them out, Hoosier GM Truck Rally. August 31st, at the end of the month there, the SITS, Southern Illinois Truck Showdown. That's in Marion, Illinois. I think this is their third or fourth year. Seems like a really good show. I'd love to get out there. August 31st, the same weekend, Texas, you got Classic Truck Nats, Classic Truck Nationals. That is in Texas. All right, so August 31st again through the September 1st is a C10 Intervention. So the C10 Intervention is always on that Labor Day weekend. You've got the Saturday night cruise, the Sunday show, and then you can travel back on Monday, which is Labor Day. That is the one, the only C10 Intervention in Woodland, California. September 6th and 7th, you have the Triple Crown of Rotting. That's out at the Nashville Super Speedway. Went to that last year for their inaugural show. It was awesome. Very, very, very high-end stuff. Quality builds. They've got cars, they've got trucks, they've got a little bit of everything. That same weekend, C10 Cruise-In Show. That's in Missouri. Looks like Springfield, Missouri. So that's September 7th. September 14th and 15th, back out here in the West Coast, Pomona, California, you've got the second Grand National Truck Show. That's at the Pomona, California Fairplex. Okay, moving along, back out in Texas, Waxahachie, the one, the only C10s in the park. Probably my favorite show. Love, love, love this show. September 21st, Waxahachie. October 5th, C10s at the River. This is in Cali. I have not attended, and I'm not sure if this is their first show. This is at Cressy, California, C10s at the River, October 5th. October 18th and 19th, C10 Fall Revival out in North Carolina. Big Casey, Lou, they put that together. C10 Fall Revival, October 18th and 19th. And then bringing it on home, the biggest, the baddest, the raddest, the one and only, the world's biggest truck show. I don't care what anybody else says or prints, but the one, the only, Dino's Chevy Only Get Down, November 15th and 16th. You know it, I know it, they know it. It's the biggest, the baddest, and the raddest. Dino's Chevy Only Get Down. Going to be off the charts. Bananas. Okay. Holy crap. A lot of shows happening. My volume on this one was a little out of check, so I am a little too loud. Imagine that. And Jeff is just right. So I tried to turn myself down a scotch, but yeah, deal with it because I just don't want to spend that much more time on it, and I am just too damn loud. Decided to put some of these pods together. I've got a good friend of mine that's going through the same situation. I do plan on having him on the pod. He's got a very unique situation. And then as I was talking to some of the locals, they said, hey, did you hear about what happened to Jeff Jackson? No. So I reach out to Jeff, and he fills me in. I said, would you want to talk about this on the pod? And he said, I would love to talk about it on the pod. And again, of course, there's a part where we want to exploit these people, but it's also more about just lessons learned and things that you can do, that we can do to prevent this happening. So this pod is not necessarily meant to be attacking, and Jeff is not at all attacking, and I know I'm not because I don't know the whole story, but there's a lot of lessons learned. There's some timing, and you'll hear it. So I don't need to expose the whole thing. Listen to the pod, listen to the story. Love to hear your feedback. I'm sure Jeff would love to hear your feedback as well. So that's episode 291, 100K, approximately 85 to 100K. Jeff said he lost on this. So yeah, goodbye money. And the thing that happens with this that just really is shitty is if that happens to somebody, then they get turned off to a build, turned off to the scene, turned off to the hobby. Their wife could resent them, whatever their partner is, however that kind of works. But if you lose money, you feel accountable. It puts just a horrible taste in your mouth, and we just don't need bad shops out there. And we know they are out there. I mean, we've done pods on this. It's just that I believe it's starting to happen more and more, because maybe the talent isn't just there. Maybe people think that they can do more than they can because everybody wants to get a truck built and they don't want to wait 2 years. And there's people out there that are thinking, hey, let me expand from just painting to building, and I'll make more money because there's so many people. I see that shop, he's 2 years out. I see that shop, I see what he charges, and why can't I do that? So you as the guy with the money, you as the guy, the prospective client, need to do the vetting on that. You got to go, you got to touch it, you got to feel it, you got to smell it, you got to make sure, check in, be getting these invoices. And yeah, I mean, you'll hear the pod. We talk about a lot of this stuff. I don't need to beat it, with a dead horse here, or beat it like a dead horse, I guess. But either way, it's a shitty deal. Jeff is a great guy. Let's learn from his experience. All right, 290 was the C10 Club 25-year anniversary. We had Renee, Kevin, Ace, and John. So jump back if you didn't hear that one. I had the chance to jump up really quick up to Utah to support Chase and the C10 Club Utah. They did a thing on the Capitol. It was awesome. Renee was there. John was there. A bunch of people were there. I'm so glad that I was able to make that happen and squeeze it in. So good job. Great job, Chase. I can't wait to kind of continue to support those Utah guys and what they're doing. Word on the street, I don't know if Chase knows that I'm going to say this, but they've got a new event that they're going to be planning. So we'll be, helping support those guys and what they're doing. So Chase is C10 Club Utah. He's doing a great job. Really good job. So that was fun up on the Capitol. What a great venue. Good job. Awesome. Fun time up on the Capitol. The short time that I was there, it really was a good time. We're working our way to 300, episode 300. My 10-year behind this mic will be September 23rd. And obviously this is 291, so I'm working my way to 300. Who should I have as 300? I have a couple people, I think. They're both Arizonians. But if you've got somebody that you think is, should be the 300, if I remember, Dino was 100. And Robbie from United by Trucks was 200. And yeah, who should we have as 300? Okay. 289, going back one more. You got the Ricky and Ellie story. There's just as good as it gets when you think about automotive culture. And these two falling in love and finding each other. And they've got a really big day coming up in September. I think it's September 13th. So we can't wait to support that and get behind them, whatever they need. And Ellie is an amazing, inspiring person. Her story is unbelievable. If you haven't had a chance to check out 289, jump back and do just that. All right, since I knocked out all the show dates, we can pretty much get into the episode. July 4th, July 4th, July 4th. I know a lot of the sponsors, a lot of the different participating vendors out there are having sales. I can tell you Doja Mats is having a one-day sale. Obviously, I'm part of Doja Mats, and I'm behind that. We are having a 20% off sale. July 4th, get on there, dojamat.com, DOJAMAT.com. One-day sale, 20% off, plus you get free shipping. If it says it's not in stock, just order it because we are constantly moving product. So it'll eventually be in stock if you want it, and you can bide your time. Grab that while you can on sale. 20% off. I think we're using code MERICA, MERICA 20, MERICA 20, and you'll get some love there. I believe UP's having a sale. I think I saw them post something. CPP. So there's going to be a lot of companies having sales this week and this weekend. Have a great, happy, safe 4th of July. Obviously, it can be a little crazy out there, but we hope you have a great, safe Independence Day. Be safe. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the pod. Late. What up, C10 Nation? Back behind the mic. And if you followed this a little bit lately, I've been trying to do a little good, bad, and ugly. So we've got, he's really, really good, but we've got a little crazy bad story today, and we're going to hope that we can get something out of this for the perspective of you, the builder, you, the enthusiast. I'm very honored and stoked to have Mr. Jeff Jackson on. He's an Arizona hero. He's our coffee guy down here in Arizona, but he's found his way into quote unquote retirement, and he's up in Ohio. So we've got Jeff on. He's up in Ohio enjoying the better weather. Jeff Jackson, thank you so much for taking time to sit down with C10 Talk and spread the love and the story of what you've been going through. And again, just passing this on to the C10 Nation so we can all be better for your experiences.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So you're up in Ohio. How is, things up there have got to be a little bit better than here. Just, missing out on this beautiful 118 degree summers.
Well, right here today, we're not at the 118 degrees. We might be at 82 degrees and 95% humidity, but so you take the good heat and trade it for the heat with the lower heat with some humidity, but you get by. And Ohio has its great times and great evenings, where it cools down, and beautiful mornings.
What would you say 85 with 90 because we always say, oh, it's a dry heat, and even though we are pretty humid right now for Arizona, we get our monsoons that kick in. Do you feel like 85 with a 90% humidity is kind of like a 110?
Pretty close. They've asked me, how do I like the humidity there and here in Ohio? And I'm like, coming out here to Ohio after living most of my life in Mesa, Arizona, in 115-degree summers, it doesn't bother me when it's 92 degrees here and high humidity. It's just not, it's a different heat, and the humidity hasn't really started to affect my body yet. So I'm loving it at this point, so I can't complain.
Yeah, and again, the audience doesn't need to hear, the Weather Channel here, but we hit, let's just say, mid-June, all of July, all of August, pretty much September, and then about mid-October, it starts to break out of the hundreds. And then what happens is just so damn hot that even at night it's over 100, and you don't really get that. You kind of lose out on that crisp morning. And for me as a firefighter, we get calls throughout the night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, about 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning on a good June, July. There's your 1 hour of crispness, and it's because you get up at about 8:30, it's already, pretty damn hot, PDH, pretty damn hot. And then that just keeps going. So, yeah, but people don't know that it gets cold in the winter. It gets cold in the winter.
Yeah. For sure.
So you heard Jeff say it. He's from Mesa, Arizona, originally from Minnesota, and that's where I'm from. So it's fun. Yeah, it's funny. Well, I mean, I'm from Montana, but I grew up there in Mountain View, and it's funny. Jeff's house was 3 miles from where I grew up, right there at MVT, and it's just a really good culture, that area. A lot of trucks, a lot of good nights cruising. Now, you got into trucks. Were you into trucks before as a young guy, or when did you finally get into trucks?
Well, for those of you that knew Wyatt Jackson, he was my son, and he had a heart issue. So we had to pick something that we could do together. He couldn't play baseball. He loved baseball. He couldn't play football. He was big enough, because of his heart issue. So he had this passion, and it started out with taking pictures. Okay. And we tried to take pictures of mountains and deserts, and I kept catching him taking pictures of wheels and bumpers and whatnot, and he started leaning towards trucks. So at about the age of 14, we started looking seriously about buying him a truck. So we bought the little blue Chevy C10 we have. And that was Wyatt's first truck. And from there, it was not downhill, but it was a fun ride. We got the addiction, and we went from 1 truck to 6 trucks pretty quickly.
That's the power of dad right there. Yeah. Hey, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, no, we enjoyed it. Wyatt learned how to be a little bit of a mechanic in my own trade in the coffee industry, and that's what fed the truck habit. We would rebuild an old machine, an old espresso machine, and then we would sell the espresso machine, and by the time you sold 2, 3, or 4 of them, you had 5, 10, 15,000, 20,000 cash money in pocket. And I'd say, Wyatt, you control that money. And he'd say, Dad, I think we have enough money to go buy a truck. So we went and bought Little Blue. We bought that first, and then we bought his white Blazer. And then we bought another 72 C10. And we bought the shrimp truck. And it just kind of added on from there, and then the thing that came along owning the trucks is, as everybody knows, you buy a truck and it becomes an addiction and a fun habit to build these trucks together. Okay. So we would build them to a certain level, and then we would go to our truck meets, and thank God for the C10 Club. That was the highlight of Wyatt's life, is being a sidekick to Dino and to yourself and to Brian Vowell. And he didn't know a lot of people, but he knew all the right people. Okay. So sitting on all these trucks, we thought, well, we would go to some of the truck builders, the big guys, and they were a little intimidating because of cost and, $100,000 to build a build or $150,000 to build a build. We kind of seeked outside the box, and we learned a lesson.
Before we go into lesson, let's rewind just a scotch. So Wyatt's a young man. He gets into trucking. Did you have a background in anything when you grew up as a kid? I mean, you're that perfect time where muscle cars, and we evolved into, I always kind of say the class of 82 to 86 is to blame for this because they couldn't afford the muscle cars anymore because they were so popular, the class of 77 to the class of 81. And then those mid 80s guys figured out, hey, these trucks are pretty bitchin'. Let's jack them up and 4x4 them and so on and so forth. Did you gravitate towards anything specific when you were a kid, or do you look back and did you ever, an uncle, a grandpa, or were you always a car guy, or what was your passion when you were a young man?
Well, we grew up with in the hot rod world. Okay. As soon as I got my license, the first thing we did was buy an old Chevy, tear it apart and see how fast we could make it go. So all the way through high school and until I had to get serious about work, I was a gearhead, and, I loved motors and loved speed and, changing up cars. And, I grew away from it for a few decades or a couple decades until Wyatt came along. And then when I saw that opportunity to get back into the motor world, it was kind of a no-brainer for me when Wyatt saw that he liked the Chevys and he wanted to get into the C10 club. Well, that gave me the opportunity to do him something that he could do health-wise. He didn't have to have, he was healthy enough to where he could go turn a wrench, and learn how to do brakes. We started out easy and then we ended up pulling motors and doing drop spindles and C-notching frames. And then we took the whole body off and ended up trying to do a frame up build. So my background, as I've always been a mechanic my whole life. Okay. So whether it would be in motors or I'm an electrician by trade. And then I became a millwright because I worked in Canada. And in order to work in Canada, I had to have you have to be a licensed plumber or a licensed electrician. But I kind of snuck through the gaps by being labeled a millwright, so I could fabricate. Only thing I would be fabricating, though, in that mechanical world was food processing equipment, fryers and packaging machines and coffee roasters. And I ended up into the coffee world and then ended up owning my own business where we had our company, which was Arizona Coffee Techs, which, when I said I was going to go off into being an espresso technician, everybody said, well, that won't work. You're an electrician. And I said, well, there's 30,000 electricians looking for work, and there's just me out here working on espresso machines. So I think it'll work.
Yeah. And it did.
And it did. And Wyatt worked right along with us, with Jan and myself. So it was kind of a fun threesome thing from, when he was just 10, he was running my forklifts and lifting me up and driving stuff around and unloading trucks. And then he'd have to do his homework at our business and sit there and watch me build espresso machines. So he got me to transform our shop into not just a coffee service company. Well, it was also a auto shop where we kept our trucks and did our fun work after work, where we would build what we were capable of building at the time.
Yeah, you didn't leave the shop, but you left the shop. It's like, well, we're still here in the same location, but we're gonna leave this coffee stuff over here. You brought up the shrimp truck, and I don't want to, I'm so sentimental to the forum, and I know that we have some guys that aren't. That just it's just a generational thing where some people just haven't lived on the forum the way that I did back in the day. That is such a really cool truck. That was one of those builds that it was a guy down in Rocky Point. For the audience, Rocky Point is in Mexico. It's where so many people from Arizona go down there because it's 5 hours down south. You just cut on through, go down, and you're down in Point to Piasco or whatever the hell, however you say it, but Rocky Point. And so that guy was a U.S. citizen. He was managing, if I remember, some golf courses or a golf course, and he built this early on. One of the first Porterbuilt trucks. How did you end up getting that truck?
It was ironic. His name was Rick that owned that truck. And he worked at the Phoenix Country Club, and he was the head maintenance golf technician there that ran the golf course on the mechanical end. So he had a chance to build the golf course down there in Rocky Point. So while he was building that, he also built the shrimp truck. And we have pictures of that truck being built, or they're actually on a forum, Rex C10, I think it's called, where he showed different phases of that truck being built. Mm-hmm. He had a 14-year-old little young man, Mexican, Hispanic boy, paint that logo on the side of the truck.
For the audience, kind of like a big shrimp, because they do a lot of shrimp catching, and we eat shrimp and shrimp cocktail down in Rocky Point. So it had this cool little shrimp. We'll post it up. I'll put it on the Instagram there.
It was called Rocky Point Rod Shop, and it was actually called La Parica. The truck was named La Parica, which was the green parrot. Okay. So, but unfortunately, one day Rick did not show up for work, and 2 days he didn't show up for work. And pretty soon on the third day, one of his crew members went to see what's going on with him. And unfortunately, he had a heart attack and he passed. So the truck was willed to one of his best friends that lived in the West Valley. Okay. Up in the Deer Valley Park area, or Happy Valley area. Okay. Like up in that northern area. And so the truck sat there in a garage for a few years in probate. And then one day, I guess the owner received the title, and he knew nothing about the trucks. And you know how not just Wyatt, but everybody is. They're always searching for good deals on trucks. And coincidentally, one day Wyatt called me up. I was on my way to go buy a company van. So I happened to have a pocket full of cash on me, and Wyatt says, "Dad, you got to check out this truck." Okay. He's just asking for best offer. All right. So I tooled over there, and I happened to be the very first guy there, the first time I was ever first on anything in my life. And I said, what are you thinking? The guy was saying, I said, "What are you thinking for a price?" He goes, "Well, I got to get somewhere around maybe 13 grand. And I just said, "Well, I happen to have that money in my pocket right now, so I'll buy the truck." Okay. And keep in mind, Wyatt and I already had two or three trucks already. And so I bought the truck, and this was right at Thanksgiving time. And evidently the guy was trying to sell the truck at the Good Guys, and then he was trying to sell it at Dino's, but he couldn't get in. And that was the year that Dino's had it at the Big Surf. Yeah. And if you remember, they were flagging guys' way. Well, the shrimp truck showed up there, and and he didn't have a good luck trying to sell it at Good Guys. That's when bag trucks weren't really the thing at that particular point in time. Plus, it was a rough truck.
Yeah. Well, and he might not even have the title. Who knows with him? But yeah.
Yep. And so I ended up with the truck, and then I had to go, and I told Wyatt, I said, "Yeah, Wyatt, I got the truck.
We bought it. We bought it, Wyatt.
We bought it." Yep. And he goes, "Well, what are we going to tell Mom?" I said, "Well, we're going to tell her we bought a motor."
We did. We're not lying.
Yeah. So on Thanksgiving Day, Wyatt and I take my truck and trailer and go pick up the truck, and we bring it home. Thank God we had Thanksgiving at our house that particular Thanksgiving, and so that kind of took the pressure off us getting completely creamed by Mom.
Yeah.
So when we pull up and we said we're going to pull it off the trailer, you could hear that shrimp truck from a block away.
Oh my God, this is rowdy.
Started it up. Yeah, and Mom comes walking out, shook her head, and said, "That's not a motor, guys. That's a whole truck." Shook her head and turned around and walked in the house, and so that's the history of the shrimp truck. We had a lot of good years and a lot of fun with that truck.
Yeah, and it was just rowdy. So it's it's funny. Now, so what happened with that truck?
Well, after Wyatt had passed, I had probably 7 pickups and one ass.
Yeah.
So I can only drive one of them at a time. So I looked at all the trucks that needed to be worked on, and at the time we had the other 72 that we'll get into in a bit, but I had put it into a builder, and I needed some more funds, and so I sold it to a friend of a friend in the club, and now it's moved back to its original roots on the west side up there in northwest Phoenix. So, and it doesn't get out much. The guy's name is Billy that bought it. If you know Lance and his 64 C10.
Yeah. Is it Lance Root?
Yeah, Lance Root.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was one of his workmates that bought the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's living happily over there. Our friend Travis at Shift did some work to it, dolled it up a little bit, and same with Mike over at Vintage Motors. He did some work to it and kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And to be honest with you, I'd love to buy it back, but I don't think that'll happen right now. So.
Man, I would love to see that truck in Ohio when you go to hang out with your new Mopar buddies and you come around the corner with the Rocky Point Rod Shop, because for the audience, it's just a cammed out ornery truck. I don't remember what the tune on, pump gas compression, but holy crap, this thing was he really had it tuned up to the point of it just being rowdy.
Yeah, it was a carbureted LS or a LS motor 6.0 with a turbo 400 in it. So it was low geared. Top speed wasn't real fast, and he didn't want to take it top speed anyway. It'd probably shake apart.
Yeah. But
it was just all around fun, getting from 0 to as fast as you could go, as crazy as you wanted to get it. The fun truck. And
Good.
That's what it's all about, is having fun in them pickups and being safe. And it was a safe truck, but it was time for Billy to have fun with it. And he's got a son now, and him and his son are enjoying it, from what I understand.
And that's what it's all about right there. You and your son were able to enjoy it, Billy and his son, and continue to make those memories. Does Jan have a favorite?
Yes, she loves, which is over at Big Ten, the little blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 73 C10. Mm-hmm. It's getting a whole new motor, transmission, ride tech, coilover suspension. It's getting a whole 9 yards. So it's being done right by the right guy.
Yeah, it really is. And it is essentially, quote unquote, Wyatt's truck, right? I mean, that's kind of, you knew the baby blue square body, and you knew it was Wyatt's truck. And so to think that, that truck now is, getting some Big Ten love, and she can drive that. And when you come back for the beautiful Arizona winters. Because again, I know the audience understands this, but our season is most people's off season. So we're cruising and bruising pretty much from Dino's to the reunion. So you've got November, December, January, February, March, and you can kind of do a little bit of that October in there too. And that's when we're cruising, and you're in your shop in the summer trying to survive with some AC or some swamp coolers or some shade. And then, so Jeff and Jan got it made because they're kind of doing the best of both worlds, where they get to go to Ohio in the summer and come back to Arizona in the winter.
Sure. Right around Memorial Day is when the car and truck season starts here in Ohio, and it runs all the way through like first week of November. And that's when I'm out of here. So I'm officially a snowbird. I never said I thought I would be one, but
hey, don't knock it, because I tell you what, there's something about that chasing that amazing weather. So, well, okay. So for the audience, the biggest thing is I want to bring you stories that you can learn from, that we can learn from. And unfortunately, there's lessons learned that it is what it is. There are scenes. So Jeff has a very unique story with a 1972. He gets into this scene. He loves trucks and cars and wrenching. So take it from the top, and let's there'll be some Q&A, and we'll see what we can teach one another and the masses here and talk about this.
Okay. So
you bought a C10. And it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
Classic Performance Products, CPP back. Joe, let's talk X10 spindles. Go.
One of our most popular parts through the years has been our 2.5-inch drop modular spindles. Really popular part. Well, we've kind of taken that to the next step. We've emulated late model Corvette, Silverado, Chevy technology into our new X10 drop spindles. They use a steel hub, sealed bearing hub, really strong piece. It's oversized bearings. Definitely great for a guy using big brakes, big wheels, which I'm sure all your guys are.
You need a new spindle anyways. You're going to lower your truck. You're running a bigger wheel, a bigger brake. CPP's got it for you with their new X10 spindle. Joe, as always, thank you. CPP, classicperform.com. It's classicperform.com.
Sniper 2. Are you ready to switch out that old carb for a modern EFI system? Well, Holley has a solution for you. The all-new Sniper 2. This new system was redesigned from the ground up. Available in tumbled polished or black powder coat, and there's 3 available tuning interfaces. A classic 3.5 handheld, a 5-inch mountable, which includes a GPS speedo or a Bluetooth module so you can use your smartphone. Another big bonus is the Sniper 2 has a built-in transmission control module. So if you're looking to upgrade to a 4-speed overdrive, 4L60, 4L80, you now can with ease. Holley.com to get started today, Holley.com.
Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bedwood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com.
So take it from the top, and let's there'll be some Q&A, and we'll see what we can teach one another and the masses here and talk about this.
Okay. So
and for you, just for you, you do you if you want to say the shop, you don't want to say the shop, you want to just talk about experiences, this is your time, your time to shine, and I don't care what you say and what you don't say. I might ask you, but I'm not going to ask you to, you do you.
Okay. Well, So everything Wyatt and I did, we tried to have two of them. We had two Blazers, okay, two-wheel drive Blazers. We had two 72s, and then we had his 73, and then we had that dually. So we're kind of working our way there. But what we did, since we had the shrimp truck, we had another 72 that we had purchased that was all bone stock, 350 on 350, just a good running truck with a pretty good body on it. Okay, so we wanted to turn it into another similar fully bagged truck like the shrimp truck. So with first thing that we did is we got the Porterbuilt 4th generation kit that we had purchased, and Wyatt and I, stripped the frame down and put the front end on it and took it all apart and put the back end on it. And when it was getting to the point where it was out of our realm of expertise, I would look at some of the other shops going, well, there's Switch out there, there's Tray 5 out there, there's Big 10 out there, there's all these shops, and all of them had incredibly long lead times. Okay. And not only with an incredibly long lead time, they had pretty good price tags that went along with it. Okay. So we kind of wandered outside our circle, which was costly for me. We decided to take a risk on a young company that their area of expertise was in painting, but we were kind of led to believe that they could be built. They were builders as well. And by looking at their paint jobs and some of the finished product that was done out there, I believed them and had faith in them. And that was the big thing, was the faith that I put in this company, that by the looks of his shop, it looked like he had a lot going, but nothing was really completed. Everything was partially finished. So we chose a shop in the West Valley. The guy's main background was painting, and I believed that he could take it and make it into a frame off restoration badass truck like the shrimp truck, only make it really, really detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's where it went south, is after the truck sat there for a while, a year and then 2 years, and we started pressing him, and then he started working on it. I started seeing things, Ronnie, that really bothered me. One was the cleanliness of his shop, running a body shop and trying to be a fine-tuned motor shop too, and in cross-contamination, that started bothering me. And then really looking closely at welding, fabrication, how he was fabricating things. Like I'd say, I want my fire. Everybody in our business knows when you want to have a finished firewall, how clean we can make them look. I said, I want a nice, clean looking flat firewall. All right. Well, he cut my whole firewall out completely, core supports and everything, and it ruined the cab.
Mm.
All right, because he didn't
reinforce it.
Reinforce it, and so it sprung, and nothing would square up. And then at the same time, he Frenched it, took all the drip rails off of it, and then welded it. And he did the worst job. I wish I could show pictures of the illustrations of what I got back, and it was the constant excuses of, well, this isn't right, and trying to blame. I'll say this for the builder. He did take the build over from a guy early on, but a lot of the damage was done under his care.
What does that mean? So he took it, not you, he didn't take it on from you. There was another guy that you dropped it off with, let's just say Tim, and then Tim, what does that mean that he took it over?
What I'm saying is is I took it to Tim, but Tim sold it to, another person. So in the transition, he carried me over as an asset, my truck.
Tim sold the company.
Tim sold the company, in other words, yeah. And then he got all of all the dirty laundry that went with it. And then for me looking at, I would look at what Jack did. Jack did pretty good job. He was coming along. Well, it was time for Jack to sell out because he got a good offer. And, this other young man bought it. And, there's a lot of custom car design companies out there that are paint companies, and they should have stayed in paint. And that's what he should have stayed in, because it went bad in about 10 months from when I gave him an excess of almost say $80,000 to start with.
Would you say that? So let's say Jack is the owner, and you've vetted Jack enough to feel good about it, the original, and then once. Were you told that it was being sold, and did you say, okay, I'm okay with that, I'd like to see what Tim's work is?
That's pretty much how it transpired. Is Jack came to me and said, I sold the company, and here's the new guy. And the new guy, I never heard of him other than, he showed me a pretty nice looking 56 that he built. But there again, he put a raised bed in it and put a motor in it. And he did a beautiful paint job on it. Okay. And I thought, well, that looks pretty good. It's not really what I had in mind. It's not a bag truck. And this one here was a little complicated because it was going to be a twin turbo. All right. And the discussion was to put the turbos in the back. Okay. And you've seen a couple of builds like that where they put the turbos, in the back bed.
Mm-hmm.
And the mechanical ability of this particular builder, he just couldn't meet the criteria. And from where he decided to put the turbos and how he mounted them and where how the rear end was placed. I mean, when he put the truck back in together, the rear end was off center in proportion to the wheel wells. Okay, if you looked at it as a side view, it was an inch and a quarter too far forward when he mounted that rear end in there. And I started looking at that, and then I would start looking at some of the body work that he was doing simultaneously when he was doing the framework. And
so let me just go back a little bit. So obviously there's going to be mistakes. It's hindsight is crystal clear. When he sold you, hey, you go meet him. Jack says, hey, I just want to talk to you, Jeff. I sold the company. This is Tim. He's taking it over. I really like the kid. Here's some of his work. You go out, and did you ever think, I know Jack, I know his work, I don't know this. Did you think ever about pulling the build, or did Tim sell you and you're like, a complete line of bullshit and you bought it, and I get it, but you just, mistakes were made, and that's why we're here to learn from that. When you look back, or did you feel comfortable at that initial transfer of ownership, and you felt like, all right, this kid's got some skills. Let's see what we can do.
Well, kind of what happened was I did have that comfort level with him, but at the same time, when the transition and the purchase of the company was made, I was building my house back here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at the same time, I was selling my own company. So I entrusted him with a huge down payment to take it from this level to the next level. And then I'll meet you again in 3 months and I'll see where we're at. Okay.
And before you go, I want to almost defend you in the sense that for the audience, it's easy to, there's mistakes made, and it's noble for Jeff to come on and explain, hey,
I fucked up. I should have done this. I should have done this. I'm married. I got to explain to mama where this money's gone. I've got all these things. I've got responsibilities. But you look at that, and we've all done that, where you think you're paying for a professional, but you're also paying to not have the headache. So when you think you're hiring a professional, whether that's a builder, whether that's a plumber, whether that's a mechanic, it's very nice to not have to worry about it, and you go work overtime or you bust your ass working 80 hours a week and you make that money and you're like, hey, this is going great. Let's see what we got. Unfortunately, there's people out there that they're just bad dudes, and maybe he's not a bad dude. He's just so fucking far over his head that he got in over his head, and maybe there wasn't accountability, and you're thinking, I wish I would have been more in check. I was in Ohio. I was back and forth and out of sight, out of mind. And now you're in this thing and you go back, and did you ever think I need to get this thing out of there? And how was payment going? Was that something where you gave him so much money up front and then he's saying, I need more money. I need more money. Oh, I did this. And you're thinking, I've got to get this out of there. And he's like, oh no, I'm going to fix it, but I need more money. I'm going to fix it. I need more money.
That was pretty much the case. Is I made extra sure that he was very well funded, so there wasn't a dollar figure, a dollar problem that, hey Jeff, you need to send me more money before I do the work. He had the money before he did the work, and I entrusted him to be a professional that I was pretty much sold on. And it's my fault for not doing due diligence and seeing some of the completed work. I should have pressed him and myself more to say, let me see a job that you have rolling down the road right now. I need to see a bag truck. I need to see some of your exhaust work done that you've built. I need to see more than I asked. That was my own negligence. And I was excited to build my house. I was excited to build my sell my shop, build my house, and build the truck at the same time. So what I did do is it was in mid last summer when I was really in the thick of building my house here. I recruited one of our friends from the C10 Club to drop in and make weekly checks on it. And that didn't sit very well with the builder. He didn't like me sending people over there looking over his shoulder and going, hey, what are you doing here? Well, I'm here representing Jeff, and I want to see your workmanship.
Yeah, first of all, he's out of town, but it doesn't matter. He's paying you. He's literally paying your living right now. So you should be, hey, come on in. Let me show you what I've done.
Yeah. And thanks to Mr. Rob Lane, he helped me come to the conclusion of, Jeff, wake up here, man. This is not looking good. He'd send me pictures, and it's like, I don't like what I'm seeing.
And you don't want to hear that.
No, that's not what and then I started I just gave this guy a huge chunk of money. Okay. And finally, once I had friends, and I probably should have done this from the beginning if I wasn't available to be there myself. And that's one of the recommendations I would say when you're into these builds like that. Make weekly visits and have them give you weekly invoices. I want to see timesheets, and my timesheets, none of them matched up right. They were just randomly given hours, and it was turning my stomach.
Yeah, there's I've heard of companies I know companies that locally, some of the high-end companies here, what they do is they bill on Friday, and when they bill, you get X amount of time and you get the essentially an update. So you go online, you've got an update of the work, you've got videos, you've got pictures, and you've got an invoice. And not too many of these guys are going to go more than a couple weeks without billing because, let's just face it. If you look at shop rate hours in Phoenix right now, used to be 85. We're up to 125. I even talked to a guy last week, said he was 135. So when you think about it, you've got a whole crew working on a truck. If they're putting on, let's just say they're putting in 20 for that specific build, obviously, you can do the math, but that's, I think that comes out to like $3,600. So they need that money. And then you're like, the other thing is I think there's a responsibility for these shops because Bowman and I have talked about this. I'm like, dude, you know, how long do you wait? You have to bill like soon because, or more frequent, because then somebody gets a big whopping bill. And I think it's probably a little harder to stomach versus, hey, I'm going to expect to be paid every 2 weeks or every 1 week. If you're not able to pay, that's fine. You get a week or two grace period. Then after that, I got to start charging you $100 a week for storage because I can only put 10 trucks in my shop and you're taking up one of my spots. And I just, for the audience, again, I don't need to stick up for Jeff as a man, but I need to stick up for him as a great guy that is one of the best guys I know. And I know you're just thinking the best of this person. You're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and think, all right. But you must have felt something in your gut, that something, your intuition said, all right, I can't get down there. I need to get somebody. I need to get some boots on the ground, and I need to get some just to make yourself feel a little bit better.
And that's what I did. And what was the straw that broke the camel's back was when.
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. Seeing is believing. The crispness of the United Pacific LED headlights, taillights, marker lights, and more makes seeing and showing your truck that much better. It's time to upgrade your old dim halogens for new LED headlights. Think UP Car Parts. That's upcarparts.com.
Need C10 parts? Well, here at Pro, we actually have trucks. We build them, we drive them, and we deal with them every day. It's just part of who we are. We carry the best products for your truck project from the major name brands such as QA1, React, Painless, Dakota, Beltec, Borgeson, Bear, and even more. Give us a call or check us out on the web.
You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com.
So just to make yourself feel a little bit better.
And that's what I did. And what was the straw that broke the camel's back was when they were making the sheet metal, doing the sheet metal for the raised bed in the back. And the guy running the bead roller machine back there, first of all, commented that he's running finished material on my truck and he's not running it with the right tool and die or the right dies in the bead roller. And he's doing it. He's doing it knowingly that it's not right, but that's all he had available to him. So I would have suffered the consequence later on down the road. And then Rob was talking to him, and in conversation, the guy says, yeah, I'm making a lot of these panels just like this, just to cover up all the ugly spots so we can hide them on the truck. And this is one of his own employees saying that. And that's when I just said, you know what? I called him up and shut it off. And
how did that go?
Well, I was still out here in Ohio, and I did that in late September. And so then I didn't get back until November. So we had to get down. I went to the get down. And then we had the holiday. Okay. So my truck sat there from, I just said, Travis, I'm going to just tell you right now, let's just, I want to go over some details on the truck, but I want to talk to you person to person on them. So I just want you to halt the progress on the truck. Just please stop. Okay. And then when I can come down there, because I had an incredible amount of parts down there. Okay. That I purchased and then brought over to the shop, and I didn't want them disappearing or say I'm going to not do it. And then I can't get back there. So I kind of left an open door. Let me come down there and we'll talk about it. Well, I didn't get back to talk to him about the truck until January after the holidays. And that's when I told him, I'm going to come back here and pick up the truck. I'll make arrangements and I'll come pick it up. And he was fine with that pretty much up until the day that I went to pick up the truck. And that's the other thing I learned. I never give anybody too much cash out front, because once they have your money, it was impossible for me to get it back. There was an incredible amount of balance left on the truck, and he decided to eat that up in storage fees. And I showed it, we mentioned Bowman's name, and I showed it to Bowman, and Bowman kind of laughed. He says, you know what, that says that on everybody's invoice. That's just there as an incentive, so that if you finish somebody's job, that they don't leave your truck sitting down there or your vehicle sitting down there for months on end. And, you're going to be charged this amount of money, in my mind, I didn't felt that really was applied to my situation. But what I was willing to do was to turn around and walk away from that guy, say, listen, between the two guys, I lost over $100,000 on that truck. Okay. And, I made a mistake, and I'm ready to move on and forget about it and build more trucks and have more fun and just forget about that bad experience. And I know now what I wish I knew I should have known back then, because if I ever do it again, I'm going to approach it in a whole lot different way and really check the guy out a lot more thoroughly and check his work much better. That's my fault for not doing it. Thank God our C10 group is a tightly knit group where the guys look out for one another. And I had guys there looking at that truck for me going, Jeff, just cut your losses, just get it out of there. And Jason Hellaby said, Jeff, just pull it. Jason Bowman, pull it. Brian Bowell, pull it. It was my fault. I would have loved to have, would have been Wyatt's dream truck. I would have loved to have it done, but now the truck's not worth it. All I got is a pile of parts. And I know there's guys out there that have had that happen to them, where they had the pile of parts.
What, when you think about the amount of money and he, things were getting cut, really what is left of the truck? And is there, can you go after him, or is it just to the point where you're like, even if I could, I don't even want to, I just want to put the whole experience behind me? And it sounds like there's really nothing left.
Cab is shot. The chassis is shot.
What was getting done though? So when he's billing, you give him 30 grand to start the project. You take him a 72 truck. He's got it, short bed, ready to go, dual turbos, LS. And then you go back and is it just getting hacked? And you're like, dude, you've had this thing for 8 months. I've given you 50 plus whatever $1,000. We're not going forward. We keep going backwards. What's happening there? And I don't want to beat you up on it. I just kind of want to understand the process. And then I think we break down, okay, what can we do to prevent this?
Well, first of all, I got a pencil whipped invoice.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense. There was things in there that he said was 100% complete that weren't complete.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And yes, I could have some recourse to go back after him, but I'm not that kind of a guy. I mean, it would just cost me more money to go back after, maybe to recapture half of the money I put in there. I'd rather move on and finish up Little Blue. Okay. I've got a couple other trucks. I want to finish them up. I'll get over that experience. It is my fault for being that generous and giving that guy that kind of money. I did tell him that he should stick to painting instead. I tried to be as nicely insult him as I could without him hitting me or anything like that, but
well,
it's just a lesson learned. It's unfortunate.
Well, and the other thing that you've went through is losing Wyatt. For the audience, again, Wyatt was a big part of our scene here. He was everywhere all the time. You didn't go to a C10 gathering or Dino's or a truck show or anything without Arizona C10 media. Wyatt C10 Jackson, he was there, and I get a part of it. I assume it's like, hey, you know what? Life's short, and I don't want to spend time doing negative things in the hobby that I love and the people that I love. And what am I going to do? I'm going to waste my time getting vengeance on this guy. I'd rather move forward is what I assume and what I also hear as well.
Yeah, that's the direction I'm going. I accept it. My wife accepts it. That's just how it is. And I have some very nice parts that are salvageable, and I lost some really nice parts I didn't get back, and they just mysteriously disappeared. And like, I have no recourse. I have no paperwork that I gave him a really nice Ford 9-inch rear end that disappears. What do you do about that? So it's painful enough to think about my mistakes, but there's some cool trucks out there, but there's even cooler people that we hang with. And that's what it's all about. It's the guys like you, Ronnie, that help me pick me up by my back of my shirt and says, come on, just keep on going. You got other trucks, you make more money. It's just a material thing. Get over it. Let's just get through it and have some fun. And, lesson learned. But,
well, and I think it's noble too, because for the audience, that's why we're doing this. You've got to realize that there's things. The story that's next is almost even crazier with my buddy I work with in the fire department. So I've been able to, unfortunately, track down stories pretty easily in this situation to pass them on to the community, to the C10 Nation. So unfortunately, but so let's rewind. We look back. Is this guy still in business locally?
Yes, he is. He's up in the Deer Valley Park area.
Okay. And it's
not Trey 5.
Yeah. Is there anything have you just completely said, okay, we're done? Is there any communication of anything? Is there I don't know. But he's still in business and that's it. And you've gotten your parts out of there.
I've cut ties.
Okay.
I don't want any more communication with him. However, if I see him in the truck world, I told him that he's not welcome in my truck world, because I'll expose who you are and that you're not the kind of guy that people want to do business with.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to throw his name out there,
But he made that bet, so that's good.
I'd tell him.
Yeah. If you want to know, and you got to know, but like you said, he made that bet. Okay, so we rewind. What would you do different? Hindsight is crystal clear. Maybe you wouldn't go with you would wait, and you would have went with a more reputable shop that cost you more, and you lost more than you would have in time, and so on and so forth. Let's say you still go there. Would you think to inventory everything? Would you think to get three accredited, three people? Hey, Tim, tell me 3 people that I can call. No different than building a house, no different than a plumber, the old Angie's list. 3 people. Well, I guess I'll let you kind of just go, and obviously I have my own ideas. And for the audience, I'm kind of dealing with some of these things too at times. They're not the same circumstances, but here's one for you. Jeff didn't even know this because we planned this podcast, but I was looking at a vehicle this last week that I really wanted, and it was expensive. And I tell you, the audience, I tell you this all the time, and I've seen this happen with other guys, is I literally wanted this thing, and I said, you know what? I told the seller, I have, for what you're asking,
I have to come see it. I can't do it over pictures. I can't do it. And so I just caught a flight this morning, and got back today, and I looked at it, and I'm going to say, let's just say my time for the day, my airfare there and back, my parking garage at the airport, it chalks up to probably $800. And because my tickets, I think there and back were $300 some a piece, because it was, I just booked it 2 days ago, yada, yada, yada. But you got to do it, because the guy wanted a lot of money, and I got there, and I love the vehicle. I would love to buy the vehicle, but we're not even close on price. So with that being said, what do you have to lose? We have smartphones. You have so many guys in your clubs, and they'll do it. They'll be honored to do it. If I was building a house somewhere and I called Jeff and I said, Jeff, I'm in Arizona, I got something over in Ohio, just next time you're running around, go in there and see this guy. And that guy should never have a problem with that. It's money.
That's right.
You're paying the guy's wage. So, would you, if you still decided to use the builder, you would take more inventory, and then it's so hard to second guess it, because I know how busy you were. I remember seeing you, and I'm building a house in Ohio. I'm getting ready to sell the house in Mesa. The business was just, recently bought. And that's a lot. It just happens to be a circumstantial time.
Yeah, it was. What I learned, and I had asked Jeremy, and I had asked Bowman, and I had asked Choice Transmission, Jason Hallaby, when they're doing these builds, how do you communicate back with the customer, which would be me? And they laid it out on the line for me and showed me. Same with Brian Ball when he was with Trade 5. He showed me how they would give their weekly, hourly invoicing. What I did was way wrong. It was, I don't know what I was thinking. I'll never do it again. But yes, I would want weekly, hourly invoices, like what I did in my own business. I would give somebody, here's to so many hours I worked there. This is my bill of materials. This is my markup. Here's my invoice. Pay me. And they would pay me. Well, that's one of the main things I would get. And then I would look at the depth of the build that you want to do. Is your build going to require a GSI chassis or a Rev B chassis? That's what I should have done. Okay. If the guy had any, if he would have been a stand-up guy, he would have turned the build down and said, you know what? And I've heard Jeremy say that. I'm not going to use this as a donor truck. It's too bad a shape. Okay. That's what I needed to hear from Travis. He should have told me, you know what? This is outside my area. This is not my wheelhouse. I'm not good at doing this. I can paint it for you, but I'd be lying to you if I could tell you that I could turn this into the truck that you want. Okay. My build required a new frame. I should have, it had more, after what he did to the cab, he kind of destroyed the cab on his own. For the most part, if you would have looked at it and seen what he did, it didn't make sense. So long and the short of it is if I'm ever going to do another build like that again, I'm going to buy me a frame from Rev B or GSI. I already have the Big 10 in my corner that would do all the mechanical work. And then Jason is kind of the stand-up enough guy where he'd let me come down there and do enough of it, a little bit of it on my own, put my own motor in, let me put my tranny in, let me do some of the stuff that I'd like to do. Not that he would let any, that's not what he's in business for, but because of our relationship,
Well, and you
I
got
enjoyed
Hallaby
that.
too. So you've got another Jason, which is Jason Hallaby, our amigo, the choice transmission guy. So, hindsight is crystal clear, right? And the things that you would do different. And I think it's hard to remember that you were so busy and there's even a grieving there. There's a grieving there. I'm excited because I'm retiring. I've worked my ass off and built a successful business. I'm moving on from that, and I just want to have this fun truck. And boy, this guy just got you at the right time. And I don't, you're not a gullible person, like you said. It's like I know exactly how to run a very successful business. I just wasn't thinking that I would be taken by somebody in this automotive world that we live in, and I'm almost surprised he's still in fucking business and he doesn't have the balls to say, hey, I need to make this right with you somewhat.
I could accuse him of using my money to subsidize his business, not my truck, because that's wholeheartedly what I think he did, and he cheated me out of my money, but that's what I feel. I could never prove that, but by looking at the condition of the shop, that's another thing, guys, man. When you do have a builder, look at the integrity of the shop. Is it clean? That's the number one thing. This place was a disaster. You felt like it was going through COVID again. You'd have to wear a mask to walk in there because of the Bondo dust and the dirt, and anything you leaned on was filthy. And then he's got other customers, nice motors in there and builds and stuff, and they're just getting trashed by a DA sander. That should be a body shop, should be completely separate of a build shop and a fab shop.
Well, and you brought up some other guys that we know. Mike Pruitt, what a great guy, honest. So they're out there. You guys don't feel like, and I don't, I know guys that will take chances on young guys, young builders. Young builders need you to take chances on them. They work for a little cheaper. They might not be the highest end garage, and they can do some amazing work too. So it obviously comes down to accountability. And I think you have to babysit people even when you don't think that you have to babysit people, and you're paying people so you don't have to babysit them. And then you find out it's my money and I'm having to babysit your ass and I'm still paying you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take a chance on somebody and a flyer, then you better be ready to babysit, because we talked about this earlier. The good reputable builders are going to have a wait. They at minimum a year. And so you're like, well, I don't want to wait a year. Okay. Well, then you're going to have to factor in maybe a cheaper rate, but more babysitting. And if you don't want to babysit and you're a professional that works 60 hours a week and has things going on, then you better get on that wait list somewhere.
That was one of the things I was afraid to do. I was afraid to go to some of these other builders and ask them, how much are you charging an hour? Because consequently, you named off some numbers that some guys were charging. I was being charged $150 an hour.
Yeah. I don't even think, shop rate might be that in Arizona now, but I think it's about 135. I know some guys still, it used to be 2019 pre-COVID was 85 solid in Arizona. Solid. I mean, 85 for sure. And now post-COVID, everybody from California's moved here. The prices of houses have went through the roof. Shop rate, labor rate, 125, maybe 135. But yeah, 150 seems pretty high. I mean, obviously, maybe like Jeremy or somebody who's got a 2-year waiting list, something like that might be a little bit more. But I mean, I would think Hallaby obviously would be, a great resource to find out, what the average rate is. I know I've talked to people that are out in Mississippi, Alabama. They're like 65, 70 still. California's 185.
Well, I would have happily paid the $150 an hour if I would have got what I paid for. That's all I asked.
You're right.
I don't have a problem with that. But when I was finding out that I was being cheated like that and just pencil whipped on my invoices, And some of the comments that his own staff had made, that was enough. And I was like, dude, I'm going to cut my losses and pull my truck. And now it's camped out in my backyard. And I think Mr. Hallaby and I have already located the donor truck that we're going to take some of my parts with and at least recover some of my money. And it'll give us a fun project. Jason and I, later in the winter, he just built a nice garage. You saw over at his place there. And,
Yep.
And Truck Luck come over and pulled the wire and got that panel all powered up for him. And, so got something for to look forward to in the winter and then spring of next year.
And that's good. That is, I think for the audience, just realize that I think you need to have a good plan with your builder, and you need to, like you said, if I'm sending money one way, then I should be getting invoices and updates the other way. No different than, an espresso machine, no different than a general contractor, a guy laying concrete, no different than, a guy that's printing my t-shirts, whatever it is. It should be a two-way street. And for the most part, I understand, like old school guys, there's still people out there that we got the carbon copy and you rip it and so on and so forth. That's kind of gone away, but yeah, exactly. But for the most part, most of these guys, I think Sean Provost up in Woodland, Sacramento. I remember they were about 2-3 years ago. We went over to the shop and they were using tablets, and those mechanics, they all have their own tablet, and they're doing a pretty detailed job of logging in, logging out. You're logged in, you're working for 20 minutes on this. You're going to have a smoke break or a monster break or a Zen break. Okay, come back. You're logged in. You're keeping progress of what you're doing. And so I do think that most shops are getting to that point. I understand there's old school shops that they're not going to be like that. But I think you gotta have a resource or somebody that's checking in, a general contractor, really.
Well, in today's world, it's you can't ever be you can never overprotect yourself. I learned my lesson, and I'm not going to go back and do that again, but I'm going to continue to build trucks and have fun with all the guys in the club. So,
yeah. And it sounds like you're making new friends over in Ohio as well.
I am. I'm going to get them to get their own little C10 club going up here in the Akron, Canton area. I know they're real heavy down in the Columbus and Cincinnati, but there really isn't anything up here. And they're going to come crawling out of the woodwork before too long. Mr. Ball's coming up here in a few months just to have a 4-day weekend, him and Mickey.
Good. Hang out. And yeah, you guys will get things jiving. Okay. So for the audience, have a plan, a check sheet. What would you say is an acceptable time? Every 2 weeks, not much more than that. Because sometimes guys are waiting on parts. So to me, it's like, hey, Jeff, we didn't do much on your truck this week. We're waiting on, I'm waiting on headers. I got some wiring. I'm waiting on some harness, this harness. We got the AC put in. Here's the progress. It's a little lighter this 2 weeks. And you're like, thank God, because I'm getting hit with $5,000 checks or bills and invoices. So, a $2,200, we got some parts coming in. This is what we ordered. This is because if you don't have proof of those parts that either you brought in, accountability, or proof of what parts I paid for, then how could you ever prove that they were even your parts,
That's right. I would say every 2 weeks. And if there's no progress made, just a simple communication, just a phone call, or just another invoice with no change in the balance or the amount.
And I would recommend no phone calls, and I'll tell you why. I'm a scatterbrain. I'm all over. Phone calls to me, I'm gonna forget. Voicemails. I want an email that I can always have as a reference that I can put in a folder that says,
Okay, this week, and it goes the other way. If I'm paying you and I'm paying your bills, or I'm an employee or whatever, hey, I paid you this much when I paid you, and this is what I paid you for, and this is what you invoiced me for, something like that. So maybe a text, because you can prove certain things on text, but hey, just sit down in front of the email, fill out your bookkeeping, and give benefit of the doubt. Somebody it might be their wife, it might be their girlfriend, it might be their boyfriend, it might be, and they're getting to them and they're struggling to get to them. But hey, you don't get paid unless you send me the invoice. So you're gonna have 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting an invoice from Chuck's Body Shop. You're like, God damn, this guy's, hey, he's got to eat, he's got to pay rent. You want money, you got to tell me why you want my money. So. And we all have smartphones, so you can snap a pic. Hey, this is what I took. I mean, it's not like you're signing a waiver. I mean, God, I could almost think, you take an inventory sheet over there and you're like, okay, here's a parts list. I need you, Chuck, to sign this, that I'm giving you this. And even if you did, that guy should be like, no problem. Why would you ever take offense to somebody bringing you $5,000 worth of parts? You're going to say, you know what? We didn't end up using all your parts. Here you go. Give it back. Yeah. I prefer this. I prefer this vintage air over this. I prefer the RTX Dakota Digitals over this HDX. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But I need my parts back. I have money invested in my parts. I have money invested in all this shit. So let's get together and let's be friendly and let's be businessly and make that shit work.
That's it.
Because you're giving the community a bad name, it's so crazy that they're taking people's money. Now, you brought this up as well, and I know for a fact this happens, especially with younger shops that are trying to get things going. They will rob Peter to pay Paul. I'm not trying to say everybody. I'm not trying to say, but you got to pay rent. You got parts coming in, and there's times where I know that builders will do this. People will do this, especially maybe when they're starting out. Maybe they got a big reserve of money and credit and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's definitely stories of people robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's fine as long as they get your shit done and there's accountability. But all of a sudden, when they walk off and they don't get your shit done, and you're like, well, where's all my money? And they're like, well, I got my rent's paid, or I own this building now, or so on and so forth. When you built your house in Ohio, did you ever use contractors that would lien everything as soon as you used them?
Well, we didn't have any liens on our house when we built it. We didn't use a bank to build our house. We just built the home and hired the contractor and paid him directly. So it was a unique build, kind of like I built my truck. I put a lot of faith in my general contractor. Unfortunately, he gave us a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Like my builder in Arizona, I gave him a lot of money, and I got a pile of shit when I got it back.
Time I built my first house that I built, I got a lien from, I don't even remember. I think it was a lien from the concrete company, and it wasn't my concrete guy. It was the ready mix company. And that was my first experience that a lot of these companies that's just normal practice is, hey, we just dropped off, 26 yards of mud and you're going to get a lien, and all they're doing is just protecting their money. So it's somewhat like, I almost feel like it's almost like that. You're like, all right, cool. I'm going to give you inventory of what I got. Here's my proof that I've given you this. Now I'm just trying to protect my money. So a lot of lessons learned.
Maybe a way to consider some of these builders can do is like when we built our home, when you got it, we gave it to them in stages. As they got the progress done and made progress on our home, we gave them big draws. And when you got it to the next level, we give you another X amount of dollars. And then we hold back, 20% at completion until we do the walkthrough. Boom, and things like that. I mean, that's when I built my house, and it was a beautiful relationship all the way through.
100%. That same house that I'm talking about that I built was an 8 draw with the bank. They gave me 8 draws from the loan company. And I would highly recommend to everybody out there, to anybody, to everybody, is always hold back money. You have no power when somebody, if like, for example, $1,000, you owe somebody $1,000, that contractor could be like, cool, keep your $1,000. I don't care, because I have $4,000 worth of work to do at your house, and I don't even care. It's a problem to me. I'm already moved on to my next build, and I remember reporting people to the Register of Contractors, and you send one letter to the Register of Contractors. Oh boy, they move a little quicker because of that. Yeah. So, what do you have that is power in your pocket? That's your money, and getting people to come back. So, hey, until this truck's done, I shouldn't have to give you full bill amount. Let's say you agree to 100,000. Another issue that's going on lately, and I understand that it's custom work. I understand this, but I just recently talked to a guy who I was up in Utah to support the C10 Club 25-year anniversary thing that they did. Chase and the Utah guys did a great job. We were up at the Capitol, and I was talking to one of the guys that was up there, and he was quoted $50,000 on a paint job. And that's a lot. Okay. Let's just face it. Well, that number got higher and higher. And I understand it's custom work, and we all do. We understand that. But boy, oh boy, it got to be almost double. And they finally negotiated down to, and I don't know all the details. I haven't talked to the builder painter. I have not, but I also know that I talked to him, and this is what I heard. And it's like those home shows you watch. Oh, well, shit, the foundation's cracked and the headers are all broke. So if you think that you have 40,000, and it's just crazy because 5 years ago, even just that amount you're talking, then budget 60, because it just unfortunately goes up. I don't know anybody who's paid less for a house and a build and a truck and a build. I don't know anybody. They've come back and said, you know what? Your frame was better than we thought, and we don't have to do this, and we saved you $8,000. No, it never happens. Unfortunately, it never happens. And people just spend more money. And that's why I think the 1 to 2 weeks it's a little bit easier to stomach when you're getting hit with a $3,200 bill or maybe a $4,000 bill versus a $9,600 bill. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
exactly.
So yeah, do your due diligence, find out what these builders are doing, what their reputation is, who's vouching for them, and trust your gut. If you can go and think back, what about when did you really, when was your first like bubbles? My gut is not making me feel good about this.
When I saw my build going south, I would say about 4 months after the new owner of the shop took possession. It was about 4 months, and I started looking and prying, and that's when I asked certain friends to drop in. I made trips back to Arizona, and he wanted more money, so I would, I made the trips back there to look at it, and then there was excuses of why certain things weren't done to the level of what he said, but he still needed more money. And I thought, that's when it started. And so 4 months after that, 5 months after that, I had the truck, I had it shut off. So it had the original shop owner. I felt that he would have probably pulled the truck off for me. It would have been he would have been a dream truck for Wyatt. That didn't happen, and the guy had it for basically 9 months, and it was quite disastrous. So
yeah, and that was another weird circumstantial situation where the guy sold it. I almost wonder, if you're in those positions and you're like, hey, I'm selling this, but I can't really sell this shop or business until I finish these projects. You know what I mean? Like I'm still I'm still part of these. These are my children, my babies. I've got contracts signed with, Jeff Jackson and, Stu and this, and I need to finish these builds before I just bail or sell.
Next time, Paul.
Yeah.
Find another guy.
But you didn't think, and we've kind of talked about already, but I think you felt like it was going to be okay. It was just a new builder, and maybe a little bit. You might have been. You think back, you probably were like, well, okay, I want to see, but the hard part there is just the timing of it with your with everything going on.
Well, and at that time when that transition was happening, the seller wanted his sale to go through, so he's not going to tell me don't take on the new buyer because he's not worth a shit. He's going to make the buyer look good, to me, to a certain point, because he's gone.
Yeah, he wants that money.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I think again, and we've beat it up a little bit, but that is definitely a good lesson for you guys out there. If a shop changes ownership, you might dive in more than you did on the original guy because you chose that guy. You sought out builder 1. Now builder 2 is now an arranged marriage because you're just kind of stuck, and you really need to, unless it's his son and he's been working there 20 years and little Tommy's taking it over from big Tommy, then maybe, but otherwise you're going in kind of blind, and you need to you need to really get after it and find out, and almost be like, you're going to prove to me why I should leave my vehicle here. You're going to prove to me. And when you spend 2 days, I don't care if you're in Ohio, Texas, Zimbabwe, BFE, get your ass over there and spend some money, make it work, and vet that person. Because, again, my situation today, love the build, love the truck. And I even told the guy, I said, I think you might have paid a little too much for this because I'm just not seeing the value that you're looking at. And I wouldn't have saw the things that I wouldn't have saw some of those things if I wouldn't have laid my own eyes on it, and he didn't misrepresent it. It's just, it's not me looking at it. Different strokes, different folks, different strokes. Okay. Yep. So you've got Ohio, you're hanging out. You'll be back for the get down. You'll come back right around that time. And then you and Hallaby and you're going to get the crews together and get this truck. What's going on with Wyatt's truck, with the blue truck, with the 73 square body? It's at Bowman's. Is this a 1 year, 2 year? Is this, when is that going to be done?
Well, if you know Bowman, like we know Bowman, I'm not saying anything bad, but I want, I kind of look at him as my son in a way. I'm older than his dad, so it's fun to hang out with him. So I said, let's hold off on Little Blue till I get back, and let's just give her hell right after the get down.
Okay.
And he said, "Okay, Mr. Jackson, whatever you want to do."
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's fine with me. So it's going to be little cornbread. It's going to be just like cornbread, only blue.
Awesome.
So it'll be Wyatt'll be super happy with that truck.
And cornbread is just for the audience. That's Dad Kevin. Jason built it with Dad Kevin. It was a short bed, long bed 71. They shortened it up, and she's just a raunchy little truck. And now Bowman owns it. He bought it from Dad, and it is just there's not much that you don't like about cornbread, because it's a lot of what Bowman can do, a lot of power, a lot of fun. I know he recently put the big brakes on it. He upgraded those, and you need big power, you need big brakes. So he's having a lot of fun. A lot of fun. That thing's done a few burnouts right in front of my house here, and I can't wait to see old Blue do the same. So another big thing, I'd really be remiss not to mention it, is Wyatt was a big part of our scene here. Him and my son were pretty much exactly the same age, off just a few months. And Wyatt went to the same high school I went to, grew up right around the corner from where I grew up. We're coming up, I believe, on the 4-year anniversary next month. No, 2 months, because we're not in July yet, because I believe it was August. So
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, thank you for being part of the scene. Thank you for staying in the scene. Thank you for, I mean, really, you're leading, you're like Jesus on this. You're leading by example with the situation, because you can be so damn mad and so damn frustrated, but you're taking the high ground on this. You're not only taking the high ground on this shop, you're taking the high ground on explaining to the audience, hey, I did some dumb stuff, and if you can learn from my mistakes, then we're going to be better off for this. And those companies that are out there that are doing this, they're gonna go out of business, or they're gonna change their ways if we can do more things like this and hold them accountable.
That's it. For
okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well, anything else to add?
Nope. Other than I want to thank everybody for all the support you guys have always given myself and my wife. It's been a hard 4 years, but you guys have really helped us make it a lot easier. And I thank you guys, everybody out there, from the bottoms of our heart. I really do.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate it. And you've got some really, just kind of the upperclassmen in this scene. You think about, really, Brian and Mickey are just, I mean, they are the ambassadors of the C10 Club Arizona. Brian Vowell, he's got a hand in a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he's just he's really a great, genuine, again, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're the kind of the ambassador of the C10 Club Arizona, and really he sets the pace for the community as a whole. When you think about our 25 years of this, and when you look at the C10 Club, he represents Arizona. He's involved from the get down. He does his Toys for Tots in Christmas time. He does we do a little thing at the reunion with them and give them their own little C10 Club spot. So good people doing good things. Don't let bad situations like this, bad shops, ruin it, because in the big picture of life, we are still lucky to have such great people. The trucks are cool, but people like Jeff are cooler, and we couldn't do it without just the amazing community, and that's what it's all about.
Hey, thanks, Ronnie, for giving me the chance to tell my story. Appreciate you.
You got it. Tell Jan I said hi. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you when you get back.
All right. Thank you.
Did we do good? What do you think? Is there some lessons that you learned there? I hope that you did. I hope that you like this. Again, I've got a few. Unfortunately, I've got a few more slotted and ready to rock. Believe it or not, once I started posting that we did this interview, I've had a good amount of people reach out to me about some shitty experiences that they've had as well. Now, I understand everybody's not going to be happy. I'm sure builders have stories about horrible clients and customers. So it does go both ways, but I could tell you Jeff is as good as they come, and this was a bad one for sure. And I could tell you my buddy Brandon's that's coming up is another horrible, dumb, stupid, unfair story. And I just hope that we can do some due diligence to help prevent that. You guys have a great 4th of July. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, C10 Talk is out.